Hello, hello, everybody. This is Wanayran Alvarez from Moving Cultures, Cultural Stopovers, Women of the World Talk and Act. Today, Saturday, 12th of June, 2021. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where in the world you are at the moment. My guest is one day behind me. It's the 11th of June in his place, and he is in Portland, Oregon, and it's 7 p.m. And here we are transmitting from Bangkok, Thailand. It's the 12th of June, 9 o'clock in the morning. And we are so excited and delightful to introduce you a very remarkable guest from a variety of backgrounds, because he's not only from one place, he is like this sum of so many histories, so many traditions, so many countries. And he is Adam Eccleston. How are you, Adam?
Oh, fantastic. So good. I keep forgetting how far the time differences can be depending on where you are. This is remarkable.
It is, it's funny because we are in two different sides of the globe, but we are in the same space, isn't it? It's only time is only relative.
That's
And
right.
it doesn't really mark what is happening. So Adam, people is very curious to know about your life, your journey, and what the future is preparing for all of us with your career. So who is Adam Eccleston?
My gosh, that is such a big question, and I'm so happy to answer it. I think who am I? I think the first thing and foremost is that I'm a human being and that I love, I care, I have fears, and I cry, and all of those things kind of make up who I am and also makes up part of my artistry. So for me, I think I would say that I'm a person that deeply cares about societies, cares about my own family and my own ambitions, which for a long time has always been about taking care of other people. It has always been a huge part of who I am. And my parents are like that, and my great grandparents were like that too. So for me, I had a remarkable opportunity to grow up with my great grandparents in the South, in North Carolina. My great grandmother was part Cherokee Indian, and some of her siblings, some of her older siblings, and her aunts were slaves in the South. So there's this long history in my family of slavery in the South that a lot of people do not get to experience, not even Black people get to experience. So the fact that I was raised with my great grandparents in the South, I learned so much. So I think part of that helped me to build up compassion for not only my people but for so many people. But that's probably one of the big words I would say too is compassion, and also I love to laugh. I love to laugh. But there are so many stresses in this world, Wani. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to laugh. You have to let it go because or else it's just going to build up inside of you and just blow up. So for me, I love laughing. I laugh at myself all the time. I mean, I do the silliest things and I just laugh at myself to doing it. So laughter is important and that helps to connect with people, make them feel comfortable too.
Adam, that is a very brief introduction of you, because you have a very, very long story and a very long curriculum. I think I'm going to start getting that information slowly. I know that you also have a Caribbean and Panamanian background. Tell me about that.
That is a huge part of my existence. And my grandmother, from very early on, had made sure that all of her grandkids knew about their culture. And from early on, I mean, I was embodied Panama and the Panamanian culture and Panamanian food and all that bits. So I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and in the 80s and 90s. And during that time, there were a lot of Caribbeans living in Brooklyn, and I had a lot of relatives and non-relatives that were Panamanian. So just growing up, there was Panamanian flags everywhere. There were Panamanian people walking around everywhere. There was uh, salsa music playing all the time, reggaeton playing all the time. And then when I left and it moved to Germany, my identity was wiped out, right? My Panamanian heritage, all my Latino people, all of it was wiped out. And moving to Germany, it was a completely different experience, one completely different experience. So I felt like I had to redefine who I was, because who I was up until that point was completely different. And my culture came with me, but it was so small. It was just my mom, myself. My dad is American from Brooklyn, New York. It was just, that was it. That was all I had. So to recreate who I was in this new land took a long time. A long time. And I eventually realized that they weren't two different things. My Panamanian side and my European side, they're they're different, but I can find a way to make them become one. And I was able to do that with my flute. With my flute. So I'm glad I had those years to figure out how to combine those two identities for myself.
And then you just mentioned something that is one of the key elements and fundamentals of moving cultures. That is the promotion of unity in diversity. And that concept usually sounds a bit shallow because it's used in so many places. But in this specific arena, we're talking about unity and diversity as an action, as a representation of a person. And I think you practically do it so well, you know, not only as a flute player, but as a human being. That's the way you started the whole conversation, talking about humanity and talking about compassion and understanding that the family roots are actually what keep you grounded. And the music saves us, you know, because music is being so much used as a mean of entertainment and as a mean of representation of a certain spaces. But music is actually a powerful tool that comes from a universal source. Let's talk about the power of music transforming your life and transforming communities.
Music has always been a huge part of my life. My parents are not musicians, although my dad thinks he's the best singer in the world. And my mom also thinks she's really good. So to see the two of them battle different songs, it is almost a nightmare. But I love the confidence that the two of them have. So I've always had music in my life. We're talking about from Oscar de Leon to Patti LaBelle to all these amazing different artists. So in my household, we played everything. Um, when I moved to Germany, I learned about classical music. That was the one area that we did not play in the house. It was not part of our identity in any way, shape, or form. My mother used to work back in the day when she was young. She used to work at a at a record store in New York City, and she used to get different CDs for free. And one of them, I was cleaning out the CD drawer. This, you know, of course, when you're in teens, you have to do your chores. And one of them for me was to clean the bathroom. And I really did not like scrubbing the tub and the toilet. That was, I'll clean the sink. But when I get to the tub, it's like, And then my second thing growing up was taking out the trash. And I forgot that all the time. My dad used to wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning to throw out the trash because I would forget. And another thing I would have to do is to clean down and polish off the different furnitures and stuff like that. And we had a CD rack. And I came across a CD that said Cecilia Bartoli. Beautiful picture, and I was very fascinated by it. So I put it in my new boom box that I paid for with my chores money, and I was fascinated by it. It was just her singing and a piano, and I've never heard anything like that before. So it was very intriguing, and I listened to that album all the time. Even to this day, I listen to it all the time. It was a French album that she did many years ago. So that was my introduction to classical music. Then from there, I started to learn about other artists like Itzhak Perlman and Isaac Stern, and listen to Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto. Mind you now, my parents, again, they can sing Ferlisa. Yeah, they know that one. They know so they say, yeah, I know that one. But besides that, they really don't know much about classical music. So that was all self-discovery. And once I found, as I got older and really started to grapple towards music, I found that there wasn't a lot of representation of me, but it was a time where I didn't question it. I just thought that was just how it was. Now, it didn't deter my love of playing the flute. It didn't deter my love of classical music. But as I got older, people would say things like, "Huh, not very often I see a young black kid as you in classical music," or, "Huh, normally you'll see girls that play the flute," and there'll be people that'll start to say these things and then put it in my head. That's when I developed a complex. Yeah, it was it. I it didn't matter to me that Beethoven was white. It didn't matter to me that Chopin was white. I loved that music. It wasn't part of my identity. I discovered it on my own and I fell in love with it. It was the people that was putting these different things in my head. I was like, well, should I not be playing the flute because I'm a boy? Should I not be loving classical music because I'm black? So then that's when that complex happened. So it was years later and years of development where I realized that, yeah, this is not a music that I was born into. It's not music of my people, but it is a part of my identity, and I accept it.
Again, that's very powerful, especially because the different stages of your life have been giving you lessons.
Mm.
And when you say, as a child, my great grandmother, my grandmother, my grandparents, either from your father's side and your mother's side, built you up and gave you the capacity to connect. Because that's the first step. Later on, you were actually embraced into this multicultural setting that allow you to move to Europe. I don't think some people would have been, and even these days, be fit to go to other societies because they have not been exposed to people from different cultures and background stories. So that power gave you the capacity to see beyond your needs. And this is when you started to think as a collective, because at the beginning it's important to really keep that confidence going to excel. Otherwise, I don't think you will be in the place you are at the moment. And now establishing that reputation, that capacity of being everywhere opens the doors to many people that they have gone through the preparation, but they don't have the confidence to open and knock that door. Tell me about your social inclusion projects.
So, as I grew up, I went through a bachelor's degree studying flute, went through master's degree studying flute in Boston. I got a second master's degree in education. I've traveled, I've performed all over, met hundreds of different people in different walks of life. And what I've found is that, going back to it again, there was a lack of representation. My life story is unique. It is not impossible. It is unique. I do not come from an affluent background whatsoever. Okay, I do not. I do not come from a family that is concert goers and all that bits. So when I was introduced to those type of environments, I was seeing, like going to the opera, I was seeing there was not a lot of representation of people that looked like me. Even when I was younger and all about different type of flute players, they were all white, and most of them were white men. So when I had the confidence to say something is wrong, this isn't right, something is wrong with this, I started to include myself in different projects and in different things. And one of them being is performing repertoire that's of Black and brown composers. It was something that I didn't do until recently. Until recently, all through school it was all white men that were dead, and be able to perform works of people that represent an identity that I can relate to was so powerful. Was so powerful. So that was the stepping stone for me to help accept my identity in classical music, but also to try to bring to light the beauty of other music of other people that looked like me. So I was doing that. Then I got involved with the Recording Inclusivity Initiative, which is based here in Poland. It is part of the All Classical Poland radio station, and I've been their artist in residence now for 2 years. It was only supposed to be a 1 year contract, but because the partnership has been going so incredibly well, they've extended for another year. And they have been watching my work here in Portland with what I do with the Bravo Youth Orchestras. And on top of that, they've been having me perform with the radio station and promoting Black artistry. One of the main things they wanted me to do is to lead this initiative because I've been doing it for a while. And but to be able to do it on that platform that's that high up has been remarkable. So promoting music of underrepresented composers, we're talking about women composers, we're talking about Black and brown people, indigenous people, all that bits. And it's been remarkable. The ride has been so good. I've been learning so much about myself and about what is out there. So on top of that, I'm also part of the Emoja Flute Institute, which is something that I didn't think would ever exist. It is the first of its kind. It is a flute institute that helps and represent uh, Black artistry, Black flute players. When I have my Zoom calls for preparation for the Institute, which actually starts in July, I am there with tiles of just Black flute players. So many of them that I've never heard before. The pedigree, their level of musicianship is on another level. Every time I'm on a Zoom call, I get goosebumps. Like just now, I'm getting goosebumps just even talking about it because it's a part of my journey as a musician that I have never experienced before until now. Until now.
Adam, again, this is like mind blowing. The moment you start to realize that our bubble is so limited and that we believed that it was the greatest, and then we realize that it's an spiral, that keeps rolling and continue growing and growing and growing because we have allowed that to happen. Let's talk about the healing power of music.
Mm. Well, I don't know where I would be without music. I think for me as a kid, I was always bullied and made fun of as a kid. I was just always different, so I was made fun of a lot. So um, communication and being able to express myself was not easy for me because I was always talked down upon. Yeah. So it was when I picked up the flute, that was when my expression came to life, Money. That was when my heart came to life. That was when I was able to express everything that I felt through my flute playing. And then as I got older, I realized that, well, that doesn't make an effective person, doesn't make an effective leader. You have to figure out how to actually communicate and find a way to use your words. So eventually I was able to materialize it and put it into what I can use professionally. So for me, that type of healing has been remarkable for myself. And I look at it through the lens of my personal experiences and traumas, but also look at it through my students and to see how they open up and how they start to express themselves through playing their instruments. It is the most amazing experience wanting to see myself through my students and see my struggles in them. And then when I say to them, I think you should be a musician. Because sometimes what I do before is I go to different classes and I see students and I see how some of them are really bashful, really shy, or crying a lot. And I say, I think you'd be a great addition to our program. Are you interested in taking up any instruments? And they say yes. Sometimes they'll say no. Sometimes they'll say maybe. I said, just give it a shot. Just give it a try. You have nothing to lose. When they put it in their hands, Money, within that first month, they transform into a human being.
Wow. Adam, let's talk about the other side of the coin. What about overachievement and mental health issues in the musical world, especially in the classical musical world?
It's a real thing. It definitely exists. Uh, I struggle with it on a daily basis. There's this need to want to be perfect, right? You listen to these recordings and it just sounds perfect. You watch these live performances and it is perfect. The technique is perfect. The way that they appear is perfect. And always feeling like there's always the next best thing right behind you. So always keep on your toes. Yeah, they're trickling right behind you. And that is something that I've always felt, and many musicians have felt. For me, being a black man in classical music, we're so rare. That feeling of wanting people to take you seriously is real. And it is a complex that many of us feel that we won't be taken seriously. But we don't have that type of finesse to really make it in the industry. So for a long time, I stopped playing Bach flute sonatas. I felt I couldn't play anything by Bach. It wasn't part of my identity. I felt like I couldn't play it as well as some of my white flute player friends. So for a long time, I never played Bach. People would ask me, would you program Bach for this? No. No. And I learned that all of this is just the vessel. Everything comes from within me. Yeah? This is just a vessel. I can play Bach with my own identity, with my own experiences, with what I've learned in my musical experiences. And it makes up who I am, and that is okay. Actually, it's more than okay. It's actually perfect. You see what I'm saying? It's actually perfect.
Exactly. I think you managed to get rid of your shield, and go to the battle just with your own persona and with yourself. And I think this is the moment that people is waiting to hear you play. If you like to give us a little piece, they will be very, very happy and also very honored.
Look, I'm smiling big. Yes, 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 of course. I have here a piece by Daniel Gueto. He lives here in the United States, but he is of Peruvian descent, and we all know the flute represents some type of a bird sound or something like that. Daniel is also a flute player, and what he did with this piece is just for solo flute. What he did with this piece is transform this idea of flute being this pretty little birdie sound into this unique exotic bird that comes from Peru. The bird is the Tujua. And it is the bird that you can find in the jungle. He said it's about 12 inches. But what's unique about this bird is that it doesn't really fly. It only flies to catch its prey. Besides that, it's always on the ground. They lay their eggs on the ground. But also, what's so unique about this bird is that it is nocturnal, and it's unlike any type of flute bird that you have ever heard. So I would love to play just a little excerpt of this piece. It goes from the lowest notes on the flute to some of the highest notes on the flute, which is abnormal for the tradition of a flute bird type of sound. Normally we're in the middle range. So I'm just going to play you just a little excerpt of this. It's called Tujua by Daniel Gueto. Actually, let me close this door here. I don't want you to hear my cat. Well, one of my cats love the flute sound. The other one does not. I will just close that door really quickly. I'll stop there.
Wow. So beautiful. Adam, this is another aspect of music, how you can translate sounds into your personal experience. And I think this piece has so many information of African taste.
Oh, yes, very much so. And I
Yeah.
also love how dark it is. It can be really dark. I think it represents like that night, that calmness at night. But yet it's also very active because this bird is active at night.
Powerful. It's
Yes.
very powerful. Adam, we are almost reaching the 30 minutes of conversation with you. And would you like to send a message to the youth and the society in general?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. You know, I wrote an artist creed not long ago during the pandemic. You know, I think a lot of us during the pandemic has had a lot of time with ourselves, a lot of time to think. I would love to read to you my artist creed. I hereby attest to the critical responsibilities of an artist to develop and showcase high artistic vision while executing the technical requirements to the best of my ability. Not only will I research and embed the historical imprints through my performance, I will break down barriers and use my musical voice for positive impact. As an artist, our responsibility, our influence on the world is imperative, and I will confide in my fellow creatives to ensure equality, empathy, and restore the essence of hope and jubilation.
Thank you. And let's now add something to this powerful message, collaborations. You sent me a video that I'm going to play that actually talks about collaborations. What can you say about that?
I love books. I love reading, although I wasn't always like that. And I think part of it was because I was always put down for my voice or for the way I've read or feeling as if I wasn't smart enough to read. I have a project now that's called Adam Eccleston Reads, and it's for young people who are afraid to read because of whatever that complex may be. And the project is to uplift them and also to teach them about history. So I have a subscription about 12 books, 12 different books that talks about being a boy and dancing in ballet, to learning about Teresa Carreño and her life story. So what I love to do as part of this book reading project is to pair music with it. And I transcribe different pieces of underrepresented composers. So this one that I'm not sure which one you have, but I've done a transcription of Heal the World. I've done it by Michael Jackson. I've done a transcription of one of Teresa Carreño's piano pieces. So this is something that's so important for me. I've done even ragtimes. I've done Wade in the Water, some Negro spirituals. I've done New Durume Negrita, which I love. So this is a huge important part of this project and what I do.
Let's play it.
Welcome to the Reading Inspiration Series with Adam. I will guide you through some of my favorite books for you to share with your young ones. Dancing Hands: How Teresa Carreño Played the Piano for President Lincoln by Margarita Engel and Rafael Lopez. As a little girl, Teresa Carreño loved to let her hands dance across the beautiful keys of the piano. If she felt sad, music cheered her, and when she was happy, the piano helped her share that joy. Soon, she was writing her own songs and performing them in grand cathedrals. Then, a revolution in Venezuela drove her family to flee to the United States. Teresa felt lonely in this unfamiliar place where few of the people she met spoke Spanish. Worst of all, there was fighting in her new home too, a civil war. Still, Teresa kept playing, and soon she grew famous as the talented piano girl who could play anything from a folk song to a sonata. So famous, in fact, that President Abraham Lincoln wanted her to play at the White House.
Beautiful. I think it's no better way to end this conversation, Adam. That's so inspiring. It's so deeply touching. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to tell your journey, your stories, your passions, and also for promoting unity in diversity. Adam, blessings, all my love, keep shining, and see you soon because we have come and work together to end up.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, all the best. Let me come back to the gallery so we can have one last message from you to say goodbye. And I don't know if you like to say something in Spanish or we just say hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. Muchas gracias, Adam.
Muchas gracias.
Chao.